بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الناصح الأمين. اللهم صل على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين. ثم أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, we continue going over the tremendous book by the Fadilatul Shaykh Al-Allama Shaykh Salih Al-Fawzan Hafidhahullah Ta'ala. We had reached the section where the Shaykh Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, he speaks about the asbab التي أدت إلى ظهور البدع, those reasons that contribute to the rise and the prevalence of innovation. The reasons of the prevalence of innovation. And there is not a single one of us who is guaranteed that they will die upon the deen of al-Islam, let alone that they would die upon the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So therefore, due to the fact that all of us are subject to going astray, and it is possible that we can go astray, wa'iyadu billah, and refuge in Allah is sought from that. Being this reality is as such, it is incumbent that we pay very close attention to the reasons and the causes for falling into bid'ah, because none of us are guaranteed that we will die upon as-Salafiyya. None of us are guaranteed that we would die upon the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. None of us are immune from falling into bid'ah. So with that being the case, then we have to know what are those causes, what are those reasons by way in which bid'ah becomes prevalent, so that we may avoid those things, so that we avoid falling into bid'ah. The Shaykh Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, he gave us an introduction that we took in the last class, at the conclusion of the last class, and that was centered around the importance of sticking to the Kitab and the Sunnah. Al-i'tisam bil-Kitab was-Sunnah. وفيه منجات من الوقوع في البدع والضلالة. And that is sticking to the book and the Sunnah. Inside of them, then we will have safeguard from falling into innovations and from falling into misguidances. Then after that beautiful introduction to this particular section, the Shaykh Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, he mentions and he outlines first in general, and then he will go into more depth those causes and those reasons by way in which innovation had become prevalent and widespread. Those reasons that innovation in the deen have become prevalent and widespread. And as a reminder, when we're speaking about the evils of bid'ah and the evils of innovation, then we're speaking about the evils of innovation inside of the deen of al-Islam. Because the deen of al-Islam, it is perfect. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He had completed for us our religion. So there is no additive that is needed, and there is nothing that needs to be subtracted from it. Our deen is perfect. So therefore, when anyone comes and they try to add to the religion, they try to introduce aspects that are foreign to the religion and thus try to merge them with the religion of Al-Islam, then this, bila shak wa bila rayb, without doubt, it is rejected. And it is evil. Ala kulli hal, from those causes that will led and that have led to the rise of bid'ah, the Shaykh he mentions, فَالْأَسْبَابُ الَّتِي أَدَّتْ إِلَى ظُهُورِ الْبِدْعِ تتلخص في الأمور التالية. So those reasons and those causes that led to the prevalence of innovation, then they can be summarized in the following affairs. الجهل بأحكام الدين, ignorance about the rules and the regulation of the religion. Ignorance about the rules and the regulations of the religion. Naam. Being ignorant about the religion. This is from the ways in which bid'ah becomes prevalent. وَاتِّبَاعُ الْهَوَى. Second, following desires. Individuals following their vain desires. Trying to do what it is they want to do. Naam. Following their desires. Thirdly, التعصب لآراء والأشخاص. That is, being staunch and bigoted to particular opinions and being bigoted towards individuals. Individuals who are staunch and bigoted to certain opinions or individuals who are staunch and bigoted to certain individuals, to certain personalities. Fourthly, التشبه بالكفار وتقليدهم. Fourthly, imitating the disbelievers and blind following of the disbelievers. Imitating and blind following the disbelievers, then this is from the means by way in which innovation had become prevalent and widespread and have come about and arisen. ونتناول هذه الأسباب بشيء من التفصيل. And the Shaykh he says, and we're going to look at each of these reasons and we're going to take these reasons with something from detail. Now, which is an indication that there's more that could be said about each of these reasons. But the Shaykh, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, is going to bring just some detail as relates to it. Some detail as relates to it. But by the Shaykh's statement, by the statement of the Shaykh, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, بشيء, with something, بشيء من التفصيل, then this is an indication that there's more that could be said about each of these things, but he's just going to mention some. He's going to mention some. The first one is being ignorant about the rules and the regulations of the religion. Now, being ignorant about the religion. And this is very important that we take notice to it, because ignorance in the religion, then this is something that is dangerous. Now, see, the deen of Al-Islam is a deen that encourages its practitioners to learn. It's a deen where its practitioners are encouraged to learn, are encouraged to seek knowledge, are encouraged to memorize the text and understand the text, and then to spread that and to teach that to those who are unaware. It's a deen that gives great importance to education. It gives great importance to education. Naam. Unlike other ways of life, from those ways of life that are false, from those false ways of lives, where people, they are not encouraged to learn about whatever it is they may be upon, and so on and so forth. They're not encouraged to think and to contemplate about that which they are upon, so on and so forth. And the reason being is because what they are upon is falsehood. And if an individual, he reflects upon it with a sound intellect, he reflects upon it with the fitrah being intact, his natural disposition being intact, then he will start to see the holes in it. Now, like how many of us in Jahiliyyah will ask questions related to this religious figure, the deacon, the preacher, the pastor, whoever, someone who's supposed to be learned about the religion, and then when they can't answer your questions, which are very simple questions, then the response was, you just better believe. Right? You just better believe. Wait, on what, Yani? I'm just asking questions. What do you mean? You see? Whereas in the deen of al-Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask those who know if you don't know. If you don't know, ask those who know. Seek knowledge. Naam. This is the deen of al-Islam. So it is important for us as Muslims to learn about Islam and to take the likes of the classes and the seminars and workshops and about the deen serious. Because that knowledge about the deen, learning about the deen, then this is from that which will safeguard us from falling into bid'ah. Because see, if you know what the sunnah is, then you're able to practice it. If you know what bid'ah is, you're able to avoid it. But if you don't know what the sunnah is, and if you don't know what bid'ah is, then someone can bring you bid'ah, they can bring you innovation and say this is sunnah. Now, and you see this gross ignorance as relates to many of the people who practice bid'ah. Because when you explain to them what is the sunnah, they look at you as if you're talking about bid'ah. They look at the sunnah as if it is bid'ah. And then they look at their bid'ah as if it is sunnah. Because when you tell them that this is not from the practice of the Prophet ﷺ, this is not what the Prophet ﷺ taught us, this is not what the Sahaba used to be upon, they look at you as if you have a million heads. Like, what are you talking about? I thought this was exactly what they were upon. No. And then when it's shown to them, then they start to see the grossness of their ignorance. So ignorance, without doubt, is something which is tremendously deadly. No doubt. The Shaykh, he says, كُلَّمَا امْتَدَّ الزَّمَنِ وَبَعُدَ النَّاسِ عن أثار الرسالة. He said, every time the time frame extended and the people, they were removed from the time of the revelation, from the time where the message, it came down, meaning the era of prophethood. When the people were removed from the era of prophethood and as time went on, the longer we became away from that period, قَلَّ الْعِلْمِ, knowledge, it decreased. Knowledge, it decreased. وَفَشَى الْجَهْلِ, and ignorance, it became widespread. كَمَا أَخْبَرَ بِذَلِكَ النَّبِيُّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ بِقَوْلِهِ, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned in his statement, مَنْ يَعِشْ مِنْكُمْ فَسَيَرْ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا, that whoever lives from amongst you, he will see much differing. He will see much differing, meaning people start to differ about what is the religion. They start to enter bid'ah, they start to enter non-Islamic elements, and then they start to call it Islam and try to mix it with the deen of al-Islam. So there'll be much differing, much innovation will come about. And the Prophet ﷺ, he told us that this is going to happen. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he also gave us the remedy when this will happen. And that is that the Prophet ﷺ, he told us, فَعَلَيْكُمْ بِسُنَّتِي, so it is upon you to stick to my sunnah, to stick to my way. وَسُنَّةِ الْخُلَفَاءِ الرَّاشِدِينَ الْمَهْدِيِّينَ مِنْ بَعْدِي, and to stick to the way of the rightly guided khulafa after me. عَلَى كُلِّ حَالٍ, the Prophet ﷺ, he told us what was going to come about. He told us what is the remedy for it. And he also told us what is the end result of those who stick to the bid'ah. What is the ruling of those who stick to the bid'ah? As the Prophet ﷺ, he said, كُلُّ ضَلَالَةٍ فِي النَّارِ, that every كُلُّ مُحْدَثَةٍ بِدْعَةٍ, every newly invented matter is a bid'ah. وَكُلَّ بِدْعَةٍ ضَلَالَةٍ, and every bid'ah is a misguidance. وَكُلُّ ضَلَالَةٍ فِي النَّارِ, and every misguidance is in the hellfire. Now, so the stakes are high. Stakes are high. على كل حال, the shahid that we're taking away from here, the takeaway, is that the Prophet ﷺ, he told us that as time goes on and people are separated from the era of prophethood, then differing was going to arise. Differing was going to arise, and that's due part and partial to the knowledge becoming less. The knowledge becoming less. وقوله, and the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إن الله لا يقبض العلم انتزاعا ينتزعه من العباد. That Allah, He does not seize the knowledge. He does not take the knowledge away by removing it from the slaves. He does not take the knowledge away. He does not remove the knowledge away by snatching it from the slaves. ولكن يقبض العلم بقبض العلماء. But rather Allah, He takes the knowledge away by the death of the scholars. Allah takes the knowledge away by the scholars dying. And this is, you want to stop here just to mention that this is an encouragement for us to take advantage and benefit from the ulama who are still alive while we're able to still benefit from them and to learn from them much while we're still able to learn and to benefit from them. And this is a lesson that I want to mention now, but to everyone, inshallah, remember and have in the back of their minds when they make Umrah, inshallah, those who are going to make Umrah this year or they're going to make Hajj the coming year. So keep this in mind when you make Umrah, when you make Hajj. Because how often is there time when the people, they are in that opportunity where they can sit with many of the scholars and you find them running around in the souk all day, going from one merchant to the other merchant and, like this. And they miss out on the many classes that are available that they can benefit from. Now, they miss out on the many classes that are there, that are available that they can benefit from. And they don't benefit from these classes. Now, so take advantage. And also prepare from right now, because the excuse on why they miss out on these classes, they say because we don't understand what they're saying. Okay, so right now, if you're 6 months out, whatever, right? A year out from Hajj, 6, 8 months, whatever, out from Umrah, then start becoming serious about learning Arabic. Now, become serious. Start from right now, so that you understand something. Even if it's only 5% of the class, alhamdulillah, you got to start somewhere, right? You got to start somewhere. No one's went to their first class and they understood 100%. You should go to your first class, you maybe understand 1%, maybe nothing. Now, maybe just khutbah tahajjud is the only thing you recognize, and you hear when he says Allah, you hear when he says Rasulullah, you hear when he says Sahaba, you understand those things. Hey, it's like that. That's how it is. Everyone has to go to the same thing. But if you keep doing that and you keep constantly, 5% turns into 6, turns into 10, turns into 20, turns into like this. So you have to begin somewhere. So take this as an opportunity and time to begin. And you still benefit from the sakina that comes down upon the circles of knowledge, the tranquility that comes down upon the circles of knowledge, and so on and so forth. So you still benefit from that sitting, and you train your ear so that the next year when you come back, then now you're at 10%, 15%, 20%, like this. Now, so inshallah, this is an encouragement for everyone to start to prepare from now to benefit from the ulama, before they die. And then, how sad to say, oh, I was in the time of Sheikh so and so, but I never got a chance to benefit from him directly. I lived in a time for Sheikh so and so, maybe for decades, couple decades. I was alive and Sheikh so and so was alive, and I never got a chance to meet him, never got a chance to benefit from him, and then he died, and that's it. No, let us benefit, let us benefit. Ala kulli hal, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He takes the knowledge by taking away the scholars. حَتَّى إِذَا لَمْ يَبْقَ عَالِمًا. He said, until such that there does not remain a scholar. أَتَّخَذَ النَّاسِ رُؤُوسًا جُهَّالًا. He said, then the people, they will take as their leaders ignorant individuals. فَسُئِلُوا. And they will ask them. Because this is important to understand. Well, we have to seek knowledge, and we have to strive to learn, and we have to strive to connect ourselves to the ulama. Because despite the issue, despite the time frame, despite the era, we're still going to be in need of asking questions. We're still going to be in need of knowing about our religion. Now, despite. So we have to stick to the ulama, stick to the seeking of knowledge, so on and so forth. Because even during this time where they know more from the ulama, the Prophet ﷺ, he said what? He said they will take as their leaders people who are ignorant. Because they still need leaders. Still. There's no qualified ones, so they take ones who are not qualified. There are no ones with knowledge, so they take ones who are ignorant. فَسُئِلُوا, then they ask them, because they still have needs, they still have to ask questions. فَأَفْتَوْا, and they will give answers. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, they will give answers, the ignorant ones, they will give answers بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ, without knowledge. فَضَلُّوا وَأَضَلُّوا, and thus they will go astray and they will send others astray. They will go astray and they will send others astray. فَلَا يُقَاوِمُ الْبِدْعَ إِلَّا الْعِلْمِ وَالْعُلَمَاء. So nothing will, how would you say? There's nothing that will destroy the innovation. Nothing destroys and demolishes the innovation except for knowledge and the ulama. And this is very important, especially in the time that we live in, that so many of the shabab that have been taken by radical ideologies and propaganda and so on and so forth. That which is from the greatest means of deterring the youth from the evil of ISIS, Daesh, from the evils of al-shabab and al-Qaeda as they say, and the evils of Ikhwan al-Muslimin, the Muslim Brotherhood, and all of these deviant Khariji sects is what? Is knowledge and the ulama. Knowledge and the ulama. Connecting ourselves to ilm and connecting ourselves to the ulama. Connecting the youth to ilm and connecting the youth to the ulama. This is what will help to safeguard our babies. This will help to safeguard our children from ever being duped by the radical nature and the extremism of the likes of ISIS. From the greatest ways of defeating them is by way of ilm. From the greatest ways of defeating them and demolishing them is by way of ilm. And us on our parts, this is what we can do to combat the likes of these evil renegades, these evil khawarij, kilabun nar, the dogs of the fire, is by what? Is by spreading the true knowledge and by connecting the people to the ulama of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. This is what we can do on our part. As far as the rulers, then the rulers, they have access to commissioning the ulama to refute the likes of these individuals and so on and so forth, and encouraging them and supporting them in refutation of the likes of the individuals. And likewise, they have the military aspect as well. They have the military aspect as well to employ upon them. And this is how you deal with the likes of the renegades. وَإِذَا فُقِدَ الْعِلْمِ وَالْعُلَمَاءِ, but when the knowledge is lost and the ulama are gone, أُتِيحَتْ الْفُرْصَةِ لِلْبِدْعِ أَنْ تَظْهَرَ وَتَنْتَشِرَ, then it will give rise to an opportunity for innovation to emerge and to become widespread. وَلِأَهْلِهَا and for its people, and يَنْشَطُّ, to become prevalent, to spread and to come with their nishat, to come with their hard work and their efforts and so on and so forth, to spread their foolishness. So it is a must that we stick to learning. It is a must that we stick to the ulama. We stick to the ulama. And in the ulama, because the ulama, they are our elders. You hear a lot these days about sticking to your elders. Safety is with the elders. Barakah is with the elders. And that's true. That's true. And the elders, the elders, they are those who are elders and seniors in knowledge, first and foremost. So a person can be from the elders, he can be from the seniors, even though he's young in age, if he possesses a lot of knowledge. So when you look at it from this standpoint, you realize that when we say that the safety, when we say that the blessing is with the elders, with the seniors, then first and foremost, this means the scholars. First and foremost, it means the scholars. And then also what enters into the elders is those who are senior in age. Those who are senior in age. So when we look at our scholars, the likes of Sheikh Fawzan, the likes of Sheikh Rabi', so on and so forth, we find that they are not only more knowledgeable than us, but we find that they are way older than us. So the ulama, they fit the description in both knowledge and in age. Naam. And those from amongst them who are young, they fit the description in knowledge. So no doubt, when you hear this phrase being used, then know that it is rightfully due for who? For the ulama. How ignorant is it to use this phrase and then to try to make it stop at the students of knowledge? How ignorant is that? That's like a person going to the hospital, right? And you saying, you have this particular issue, we have to bring in Dr. So-and-so, who this is his specialty, and you say, nah, let me check with the nurses first. Let me see what they say. But this nurse is from she's from my ward, or this nurse is from my ward, he's from, my floor. Let me see what he say first before I check with the doctor. What stupidness is this? You understand? It's ridiculous. Person saying, but the doctor said it's this, and that. This your diagnosis. The doctor's giving you this prescription. He say, yeah, I don't know. I got to check with the nurses first and see what they say. If they say it's okay, I'll take it. They say nah, then I won't take it. Because the nurses know better what goes on this floor. Doctors just come around, do their rounds, they leave. Nurses here all day, they know. How dumb is that sound? You understand? If a person was in a hospital and he took that methodology, you look at him like he's crazy. Like, are you really? But then we're going to pull this with our religion? It's amazing how some people value their bodies more than they value their soul. Ala kulli hal. Also, secondly, from those things which give rise from the causes of innovation being spread is ittiba' al-hawa, following the desires. Following the desires. Man a'rada an al-kitab was-sunnah ittaba'a hawa. Whoever goes against the book and the sunnah, then they follow their desires. Whoever goes against the book and the sunnah, these are individuals who they follow their desires. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَجِيبُوا لَكَ. And if they do not respond to you, if they do not answer your call, فَاعْلَمْ أَنَّمَا يَتَّبِعُونَ أَهْوَاءَهُمْ. Then know that they are only following their desires. If they do not answer your call, then know that they are only following their desires. Ma'am. So turning away from the book, turning away from the sunnah, then this is the following of one's desires. And such has to be cautioned away from. Such has to be cautioned away from. Because this is something that is the epitome of evil and of destruction. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He goes on to say, وَمَنْ أَضَلُّ مِمَّنِ اتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ بِغَيْرِ هُدَى مِنَ اللَّهِ. And who is more astray than the one who follows his desires without any guidance from Allah? He follows his desires without any guidance from Allah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. وقال الله تعالى, and Allah Ta'ala, He says, and I want everyone to pay very close attention. Allah Ta'ala, He says, فَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. And have you not seen the one who has taken his desires as his Lord? Have you not seen the one who has taken his desires as his Lord? Imam al-Sa'di, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions about this particular ayah, where he says, أَفَرَأَيْتَ, have you not seen? He says, الرَّجُلُ الضَّالُ, the man who is astray. Or it could be the woman who is astray. Na'am. Have you not seen the one who is astray? اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. He has taken his desires as his God. He has taken his desires as his God. Naam. Listen to the description that Imam al-Sa'di, he mentions for this individual, the one who has taken his desires as his God. Imam al-Sa'di, he says that this individual, hawahu salakahu, it is his desires that motivate him. His desires make him move. Naam. And I want us to think about this, because all of us are subject to this. And we have to question ourselves. Are we being moved by our desires, or are we being moved because we want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Nah. Are we being moved by our desires because we're doing what our desires want to do, or are we being moved because we want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Now, don't confuse the situation. Moving in accordance to your desires doesn't mean that necessarily that you only move for the evil, for haram. Not necessarily. You understand? He says, his desires is that which motivate him. That's what make him move. سَوَاءٍ كَانَ يَرُضِ اللَّهِ أَوْ يَسْخَطُهُ. He says, regardless on whether what he's doing is pleasing to Allah or if it angers Allah. Regardless on whether it's pleasing to Allah or it angers Allah, it doesn't matter, because his motivation is what? His desires. So if he's doing something and that is a thing that is pleasing to Allah, this is not saying that Allah Ta'ala is pleased with that individual, what he's doing, but it's saying that the thing in which he's doing, jumlatan, generally, is something, umuman, is something that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But their intention by way of doing it is because they follow their desires. It's something that they, fits into what they want to do anyway. You understand? This is not good. Because what we do, we have to do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to do for the sake of Allah Jalla wa ala. Na'am. Seeking the face of Allah Azza wa Jal. Or whether that is something that will make Allah angry with them, that will earn Allah's wrath. Something that will earn Allah's wrath. Because some people, when they want what they want, they're just going to go. They don't care. This is an individual who's moved by his desires. Moved by his desires. Whether what he's doing is right or whether he's doing is wrong. This is the one who, Imam al-Sa'di said, this is the description of the one who has taken his desires as his God. This is the one who has taken his desires as his God. Wa'iyadu billah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, as relates to this individual who has taken his desires as his God, وَأَضَلَّهُ اللَّهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ. So that Allah will lead this person astray. Allah will lead this person astray upon knowledge. That meaning that Allah knowingly will lead this person astray. This is what this individual, he deserves. Because they follow their desires. They follow their desires to such an extent that they have taken their desires as gods. They have taken their desires as gods. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentions what means, he says that whoever turns away from following the truth, that they knowingly turn away from following the truth, due to what? Due to their desires, ittiba'an, in order to follow their desires, then indeed their heart will inherit in its wake ignorance and misguidance until their hearts thus become blind to the truth. Their heart becomes blind even to that which is abundantly and clearly true. Listen to the end, because some may say, well, where did Shaykh al-Islam get that from? How did Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah come to that understanding? Listen to how this ayah ends about the one who takes his desires as his God, that Allah would lead that individual astray upon knowledge. Allah Ta'ala says, وَخَتَمَ عَلَى سَمْعِهِ, and Allah, He will seal his hearing. That individual, his hearing will become sealed. وَقَلْبِهِ, and his heart will become sealed. You see, when the ulama, they explain, when the khatam, when the sealing comes upon the hearing, right? And the sealing, it comes upon the heart. The heart is sealed, is locked. This means what? The heart, and this is only the end, is because of a person doing so much evil, rana ala qalb, that the seal, it becomes upon the heart becomes completely blackened with the sin, right? So at the end of that, then the heart is sealed. So the heart is evil. It's evil inside the heart. But now that the heart is sealed, none of that evil could get out. And because it's sealed, no good could get in. You see, this is it. This is it. Now, so the hearing is sealed. So the ears of the hearing, it won't accept that which is good. And even if that which is good come in, it's not going to do nothing to their heart. Right? وَعَلَى بَصْرِهِ غِشَاوَةٌ, and he will have a screen over his eyes. The ulama of tafsir, they mentioned that this is very significant, because it didn't say that the eyes will be shut, closed. It didn't say the eyes will be shut, closed. But it said that there will be a screen over the eyes. Right? Having a screen over the eyes is worse. The ulama of tafsir, they mentioned. They said because if the eyes were closed, then this will give alarm that something is wrong. I can't see anything, something is wrong. But with the eyes being screened, a person can still see, but he don't see correctly. He don't see correctly. So things are not clear. Things are blurry. They're not clear to him. He think it's this, but it's really that. Right? He think it's one thing, but it's really something else. So now the eyes they have a ghishawa. So he won't be able to see and to recognize the truth. When the rana, when that covering becomes over the heart, a person, he will be incapable of distinguishing between good and evil. It will be impossible. He will be incapable of distinguishing between what is good from that which is evil. Naam. So Allah Ta'ala, He says, فَمَن يَهْدِيهِ مِن بَعْدِ اللَّهِ. Allah Ta'ala, He says, so who is going to guide this person after Allah? Meaning what? Who is going to guide this person after Allah sent them astray? Who's going to guide them? Who's going to help them? Nobody. This is from the most evil outcomes and from the things that we have to be aware of, because this thing is destructive. The following of the desires is destructive. And you find that every individual of bid'ah, then he is one who follows his desires. That's why they call Ahlul Ahwa, the people of desires. The people of desires. This, at its climax and at its epitome, is destruction. So the likes of this environment, then it will give rise to bid'ah. It will give rise to bid'ah. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. And Allah's refuge is sought from such. So we have to beware of following our desires. Stuff that we know is right, but we turn away from it because we want to do something else. We have an agenda. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. And this is the problem. This is one of the many problems. One of the problems, we should say, of the people of the partisans, people of Hizbiyah, is that they will turn away from what they know is true. Why? Because it doesn't fall into the party line. Because it doesn't match up with the party line, then they'll take another position, even though they know what they're doing is wrong. But they got to stick with the party. The party, sent down the order. So the party said, we're going to go this way, so they go that way. Even knowing going that way is wrong. But, because you got to be down with the party, you go that way anyway. This is very dangerous. This is very dangerous. So we have to beware of this, because this is what gives rise to bid'ah. Also on that note, thirdly, التعصب لآراء الرجال, and that is being staunch and bigoted to the opinions of men. التعصب لآراء والرجال, to be staunch and bigoted to opinions and to men. Now, to be staunch and bigoted to opinions, to hold on to opinions that are clearly false and shown to be false, but the person still holds on to them. And likewise, holding on to men, holding on to personalities. Saying, yes, I know, but personality so-and-so. Yes, but for personality so-and-so. They get shown the proof, the evidence. Yes, but personality so-and-so said. This is from those things which give rise to bid'ah. يحول بين المرء واتباع الدليل, being staunch and bigoted to opinions and being staunch and bigoted to men, which will separate and will cause the individual not to follow the proof. Show the person the proof clear as day. They say, yeah, but so-and-so said such and such. Yeah, but these group of individuals have said such and such. But the proof is right here. I know, I see what you're saying, but these ones have said so-and-so. So all the proof gets thrown to the side. Has to be a way out because they have said such and such. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. None of us should think that we're immune to fall into this. None of us think, this can never be me. No. You start thinking like that, you're in danger. You're in danger. But this is something that is not light. It's something that is tremendously evil. Listen, the Shaykh goes on, he says, that the person, this will separate between them and following the proofs, وَمَعْرِفَةِ الْحَقِّ, and it will separate from them knowing what is the truth. وقال تعالى, Allah Ta'ala, he says, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمُ اتَّبِعُوا مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ قَالُوا بَلْ نَتَّبِعُ مَا أَلْفَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ آبَاءَنَا. And when Allah Ta'ala says, and when it is said to them, follow that which Allah has revealed, they say, no, rather we will follow that which we have found our forefathers upon. Rather we will follow that which we have found our forefathers upon. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. This is something that is tremendous. A person, he gets shown what is the truth, but he say, no, I'm going to follow. We find our forefathers upon. You find that this is the situation of the people of innovations. The Shaykh, he goes on and he says, وَهَذَا هُوَ الشَّأْنُ فِي مُتَعَصِّبِينَ الْيَوْمِ. He said, this is the situation, this is the affair of those who are bigoted, staunch, blind followers today. That those who are bigoted, this is what you find that they do today. And we mean bigoted, we mean those who are bigoted with opinions and with men, right? You'll find this, that because they sticking to this opinion, sticking to these men's in them, then they turn away from that which is the truth. They turn away from that which is true. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. So don't think that people can't fall into this. You bring them the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they say no, but so and so said. You bring them the ayah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they say no, but so and so said. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. You bring them the way of the Sahaba. This is what the Sahaba used to do. They say, no, but so and so said. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. This is the way of those who are bigoted today. The Shaykh says, مِن بَعْدِ أَتْبَاعِ الْمَذَاهِبِ. From some of the people who follow the madhahib. You find them like this. The blind followers, those who are staunch followers of the madhahib. You find them like this. You bring them the proof, the evidence, say no, but the madhab it says. وَالصُّوفِيَّةِ وَالْقُبُورِيِّينَ. And the Sufis, and those who are worshippers of graves. The Sufis and those who are worshippers of graves. Now, people worship graves. They pray to those who are dead and buried therein, seeking blessings and intercessions from them. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. This is shirk with Allah. This is polytheism. But you find when you check them on this polytheism, when you call them to the Tawheed and so on and so forth, they cling on to that which their forefathers and their shuyukh and their scholars and so on and so forth were upon, and they try to use that as a proof, as the Shaykh is going to mention. فَإِذَا دُعِيَ إِلَى اتِّبَاعِ الْكِتَابِ وَالسُّنَّةِ. When you call them to the book and the sunnah, وَنَبْذِ مَا هُمْ عَلَيْهِ, and to abandon that which they are upon, مِمَّا يُخَالِفُهُمَا, from that which goes against the book and the sunnah, احتجوا. They bring as a proof. What's their proof? بِمَذَاهِبِهِمْ. You show somebody the proof from the book and the sunnah, the proof is clear, but they hold on. What's their proof? What's their hujjah, or why they're going to stay what they're doing? Because they say this is our way, this is what our madhab calls to. Or mashayikhihim, they say this is what our shaykh they say. Say, what do you mean? But this is the haq, this is the proof, this is not. They say no, but this is what our scholars say. Here's the proof. Now I tell you a real life story, right? True story. We're not tablighi. Alhamdulillah. But the story involves a tablighi. Right? So with this tablighi, so trying to call him to that which is correct in the best manner I can muster. I was explaining to him that this is the methodology that they are upon. This is not the manner in which the Prophet ﷺ gave da'wah, nor was this the manner in which the Sahaba they gave da'wah. I mentioned to him how Mu'adh ibn Jabal and others from the Sahaba, they went to the various places, Yemen, for example, to live there and to call the people to Islam and to teach them and so on and so forth. And some of the ulama, they mentioned to me a ruler over them and so on and so forth. But yeah, a movement to give da'wah, to teach the people. And they didn't go there for a specific period of time. It wasn't for 40 days or like this. It wasn't for a specific period of time, then they came back. But they went there, definitely. That's one. Two, which is more important, is their call. Their call was to a Tawheed, calling the people to Tawheed first and foremost. Na'am. And, from other aspects, trying to explain to them the lack of importance that's placed on Tawheed from the likes of the Tabligh, by asking them questions like, well, do you know the meaning of La ilaha illallah, which he didn't know. Na'am. Trying to remind him by reciting those ayat about Tawheed, the importance of Tawheed, so on and so forth, the dangers of shirk, right? And that. Anyway, I tried. And then at that time, he got quiet, right? At the end of what I had to present to him, he got quiet. And he went, this was like after Fajr, the Masjid, right? He went, and he walked away. He went in the corner for a little bit. So I thought, okay, that was it. Okay? He comes back like maybe 10 minutes later, and he says, hey, if you want, because maybe you don't feel secure or whatever, he said, if you want, I can have one of our mashaykh give you a fatwa that say it's okay to come out with us for X amount of days or whatever. Right? That was his big hujjah. If you want, I can have one of our mashaykh give you a fatwa that say it's permissible to come out and join Tabligh. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. A'udhu billah. Ala kulli hal. The Shaykh, he says, so they use it as a proof, their mashayikh and their aba wal ajdad. They use it as a proof their mashayikh, their fathers and their grandfathers. The last one, the last cause for the rise of bid'ah is at-tashabbuh bil-kuffar. Is imitating the kuffar. Imitation of the kuffar. As you will find many practices of bid'ah, then they originate from the imitation of the kuffar. وَهُوَ مِنْ أَشَدِّ مَا يُوقِعْ فِي الْبِدْعِ. And this is the most greatest and the worst of those who fall into the bid'ah, is from this reason of imitating the kuffar. كما في الحديث أبي واقد الليثي, as it comes in the hadith of Abu Waqid al-Laythi, قال, he said, خرجنا مع الرسول الله. He said, we went out with the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم إلى حنين, to Hunayn. يعني فنحن حدثاء عهد بالكفر or بكفر. He said, and at that time we were new. We just recently left disbelief. We were new Muslims. نعم. وللمشركين, and for the mushrikun, for the polytheists, يعني they had sidra. They had a tree, a sidra tree. يقفون عندها, where they used to spend a lot of time at this tree in devotion, at this tree. وينوطون بها أسلحتهم, and they used to hang their weapons from it. They used to hang their weapons from this tree, like they was to get blessings or whatever from the tree, right? يقال لها ذات الأنواط. It was called ذات أنواط. That was the name of it. ذات أنواط. فمررنا بسدرة. So we walked by a tree, a sidra tree. فقلنا, so we said, يا رسول الله اجعل لنا ذات الأنواط كما لهم ذات أنواط. He says, so we said, O Messenger of Allah, make for us a tree to hang our stuff on, like that's like they got a tree that they hang their stuff on. Right? So they got the idea from what? From seeing what the kuffar were doing, hanging their things upon the tree, right? To get blessings or whatever. So they said, O Messenger of Allah, make for us a tree, we can hang our stuff on the tree as well. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is very important because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if anything that was done wrong in his presence, he had to correct it immediately. He didn't just, okay. No, he corrected it immediately. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Allahu Akbar. He said, Allah is the greatest. Allahu Akbar. Innaha sunan. He said that verily these are the ways of the people that came before you. Naam. These are the ways of the people that came before you. قلتم والذي نفسي بيده كما قالت بنو إسرائيل لموسى اجعل لنا إلها كما لهم إله قال إنكم قوم تجهلون. He said, Allahu Akbar. He said, verily this is the ways of those who came before you. Verily you all have said, and I swear by the one who my soul is in his hand, just like the children of Israel said to Musa, just like they said to Musa, to Moses, as Allah Ta'ala informs us, as they said, and make for us a God like they got a God. Make for us an idol like they have an idol. And thus Musa, he said unto them, verily you are people who are most ignorant. The Prophet ﷺ, he goes on and he says, لَتَرْكَبُنَّ سُنَنًا مَنْ قَبْلَكُمْ. He said, verily you are going to follow the ways of those who came before you. That verily you are going to follow the ways of those that came before you. Now, and this is also something in which the Prophet ﷺ, he prophesied. He said that what was going to take place, that we will follow the ways of those who came before us, handspan by handspan, armspan by armspan, so much so that they went into a lizard hole. We go into it as well. So the Sahaba, they said, Al-Yahud al-Nasara, they said, O Messenger of Allah, the Jews and the Christians. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, if not them, who? If not them, who? Naam. So the Prophet ﷺ, he told us that we are going to imitate and follow the Jews and the Christians. And this is from the standpoint of informing us of what's going to take place. It's not from the standpoint of justifying it. It's not from the standpoint of justifying it. It's saying it's okay. It's from the standpoint of telling us of what is going to happen. We know the ruling on imitating the Jews and the Christians is that the Prophet ﷺ, or anybody from the kuffar, is that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Man tashabbaha biqawmin fahuwa minhum." Whoever imitates a people, he's from them. Whoever imitates a people is from them. So this is what? This is a tremendous warning. This is a tremendous warning, and it outlines the prohibition of following the Jews and the Christians or the Buddhists or the Rastafarians or whoever from the kuffar. Our way of life is perfect. Islam is perfect. So we don't need nothing from the misguidance that they are upon. Naam. But, however, you find that many of the aspects of bid'ah, they come from imitating of the kuffar. The Shaykh, he says, فَفِي هَذَا الْحَدِيث, and inside of this hadith, أَنَّ التَّشَبُّهُ بِالْكُفَّارِ هُوَ الَّذِي حَمَلَ بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلِ أَن يَطْلُبُوا هَذَا الطَّلَبِ الْقَبِيحِ. He said in this hadith we find that it was the imitation of the kuffar that led the people of Israel, that led the tribe of Israel, to ask for this disgusting request. Is because they was imitating the kuffar. That's why they said, make for us a God like they got a God. Naam. وَهُوَ أَن يَجْعَلْ لَهُمْ آلِهَةً يَعْبُدُونَهَا. That they ask for gods that they can worship, idols that they can worship. وَعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ. They ask for idols that they can worship. وَهُوَ الَّذِي حَمَلَ بَعْضَ أَصْحَابِ مُحَمَّدٍ صلى الله عليه وسلم ورضي الله تعالى عنهم أن يسألوا أن يجعل لهم شجرة يتبركون بها من دون الله. And this is what led, the imitation of the kuffar is what led some of the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to ask that a tree, they be given a tree that they could seek blessings from other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But remember, they were new to al-Islam, so they didn't know. They were new to Islam, they didn't know. And thus the Prophet ﷺ, he taught them what? Immediately. He didn't wait. When it came up, he taught them immediately. Now, in the best of manners, showing them that this is not acceptable on any level. وَهَذَا الْوَاقِعِ. And this is the way, نَفْسُهُ الْيَوْمِ. You'll see the same thing happening today. Now, فَإِنَّ غَالِبِ النَّاسِ مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ قَلَّدُوا الْكُفَّارِ. Most of the Muslims, the Shaykh says, most of the Muslims today, they follow the kuffar. They imitate, Most of the Muslims today, they blind follow the kuffar. Yeah, they blind follow the kuffar. في عمل البدع. In the bid'ah that they do, with shirkiyat, and also inside of some shirk, polytheistic practices that they do. For example, كأعياد المواليد أو موالد, just like inside of the celebration of the Prophet's birthday. Where do you think they got that from? Christians celebrate Isa's birthday, which ain't even Isa's real birthday, So then the Muslims, they want to celebrate what? The Prophet's birthday, which turns out what? Is not even confirmed to be the Prophet's birthday. You see the similarity? Subhanallah. But that's where they got that from. The Prophet himself never celebrated his birthday. The Sahaba who loved the Prophet ﷺ more than we love the Prophet ﷺ never celebrated his birthday. His companions never celebrated his birthday. Nor the Tabi'een, nor the Atba' Tabi'een, nor any of the Imams of the Ummah, any of the Imams of the religion. Rightly got Imam. None of them followed practice the birthday of the Prophet ﷺ. Now these people come and they say, we're going to celebrate the Prophet ﷺ's birthday, and then what they excuse, because we love the Prophet ﷺ. Ya salam. You think the Sahaba didn't love him? So doing this is not an illustration of love. Where you get this from? We know, from the Christians. From the Christians. So this is an example. But this stems from this bid'ah. It comes from what? Imitating the kuffar. From imitating the kuffar. Likewise, وإقامة الأيام والأسابيع لأعمال مخصوصة. And also with the establishment of days and of weeks to do specific actions. They have days and weeks to do specific actions. All this comes from the imitating of the kuffar. والاحتفال بالمناسبات الدينية وذكريات. And also from establishing practices and ceremonies that are religious based, and also that are for memorials. نعم. وإقامة التماثيل. And for the erection of statues and edifices. والنصب التذكارية. and also for the establishment of memorials and edifices for for the sake of remembering an individual and so on and so forth, like those that are upon graves and all of these altars and edifices that are erected upon the graves, mausoleums and so on and so forth. That's from the kuffar. That's from the kuffar. Muslims, we put our dead in the ground. We don't build no structure on top of them. That's from the kuffar. But they do that to people who they deem as being noble, people who they deem as being great, and so on and so forth. Like if you see the graves of the popes and all that, subhanallah, guards and all this type of stuff and silly stuff. So then the Muslims come and say, we got people who's greater than that, or we deem as being deserving of the like. So then they do the same thing by imitating the kuffar. Now, by imitating the kuffar. And also what? The bid'ah al-janaiz, and also having bid'ah, innovative practices that are related to funerals. We find the Muslims falling into bid'ah practices that are related to funerals, and that when people die, that they have adopted from the kuffar. So the bid'ah in these things, and you find it from that. Well, bina' al-qubur, and building on top of the graves. What do you call it? Headstones on top of the grave. That's from the kuffar. That's not from us. But you find, wa'iyadu billah, and even in the Muslim portion of the graveyard, some graves that got headstones on it, and then they got a picture in it of the person and all this type of stuff, and it has some words and all this stuff. Loving father, this, that, and that. Subhanallah, it's from the kuffar. It's not from the Muslim. It's not our way. This is not our way. If you go, you see Baqi' has some of the best humans ever that are buried there, and you can't tell which grave is which. The Sahaba are buried there. You can't tell which grave is which. There is no headstone on there. There's nothing to say that, this was the companion of the Prophet ﷺ, what a great man he was, and now this is the way he lays to rest and so on. You can't find none of that. But yeah, we think this loving father, we're going to put it in loving mother. This is horrible. Where they get this from? From the kuffar. They get this from the kuffar. وغير ذلك, and other than that, from the innovative practice that the Muslims they have adopted, from the kuffar, wa'iyadu billah. Ala kulli hal, these are some of the reasons, and these are some of the causes for which the bid'ah it had spread and become prevalent. And then the Shaykh Allah Ta'ala gets into the next section, which deals with mawqif al-ummah al-islamiyya min al-mubtadi'i or al-mubtadi'ah, and this is the stance of the Islamic nation from the innovators, ومنهج أهل السنة والجماعة في رد عليهم, and the methodology of أهل السنة والجماعة as relates to refuting the innovators, But inshallah ta'ala, we'll get into this inside of the next class بإذن الله تعالى. فنكتفي بهذا القدر، وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، وجزاكم الله خيرا.